Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Matthews, and I am the Marketing and Communication Specialist with the Better Business Bureau serving the Atlantic provinces. As many of you know, May is moving month, and today I'm here with Jenny Wilcoxon. Jenny was the victim of a moving scam. I really wanted to talk to Jenny about her experience falling victim to a moving scam and what advice she would give to others. So, hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit about the situation and what happened during this moving scam?
We moved from Hamilton in Ontario to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia in February 2020. And we compared a few different ways of doing the move. We looked at U-Haul. We looked at doing a pod service where you get like a metal container and they kind of drop it at your house for a month while you fill it up and they take it to the destination. And we looked at a full moving service where, a company is dedicated to just your stuff. So what we found out was that the U-Haul option, it would have been very stressful with the kids and the pets and all the rest of it. And also it wasn't as cheap as we expected it to be. And then the moving companies, most of those were coming out like $8, $10, even $12,000, which is way more than we, I guess, anticipated it to cost, because we didn't have a lot of stuff. We had a small 800 square foot house. So we decided to go with the mover. We were looking for the cheapest quote. We never really even considered the idea that, what happens if we get like a rogue company that takes our stuff, because we just hadn't heard of it happening. And I guess the stress of moving, and we just didn't think about it. So we went with the company that gave us the cheapest quote. Their quote to us was about $2,800. So it seemed obviously very appealing compared to the other quotes. And I was really accurate. They gave me a spreadsheet. I filled out all of the number of boxes, totes, beds, mattresses, everything that we had down to the last stick of furniture. So I was fairly confident it was accurate. So we went with them, and we didn't really do a lot of checking in the way of I did look up for some reviews, and the only thing I really found was people saying, well, they picked up my stuff and then they said I had more weight than I did. And when I read those, I just thought, well, the people probably didn't give a good estimate in the first place. So anyway, they picked up the stuff in February. And on the day of the move, they caused an accident outside the house because of the way they parked the truck. So it was kind of like young drivers didn't seem to be overly experienced in driving the truck. They parked very close to a stop sign and they caused an accident. And after that had all happened, we kind of, we felt bad for him. We were kind of felt sorry for him. And he said, here's the paperwork, we've got to go because we've got to get back to Toronto now. It's nearly 6:00. Do you want to just do the flat rate because you've got a lot more stuff than you told us that you had? And we looked at the truck, and the truck was about 2/3 full, maybe 75% maximum full. And I said, no, I'd rather you do the weigh and scale, which is what we'd originally agreed. And then that way you can give us a ticket and we can know that we're only paying, what weight there is. The company and said, what was the weight? And they were like, well, there is no weight because you agreed the flat rate. And I said, no, we didn't agree the flat rate. We had this whole conversation. And they were like, you signed. And they showed me the piece of paper, and he'd had me initial my initials all the way down, all these little fees for boxes and things. And there it was, like flat rate. Their original estimate of what we actually had was about 6,000 pounds of weight. The flat rate starts from 11,000 pounds of weight. So it's almost double what we actually had. And then they turned around and said, well, it's $6,700 is what you have to pay now. The driver called us on his cell phone and said, I'm in Yarmouth in Nova Scotia and I need to deliver you stuff like today. And this was a week before we'd even left Ontario. We were nowhere near the province. We hadn't closed on the house yet. And he was like, well, I have another job in Montreal, so I have to go. And if you don't let me deliver the stuff, I'm just going to take it with me and drop it in a warehouse in Montreal. And you'll have to pay every week for that storage, trying to create like a panic. So in the end, I had to go into their bank on a Friday afternoon at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon with cash, paying $7,000 in cash, and then send them a picture of the receipt to prove that I'd done it. And then we made an arrangement for their driver to take the stuff to a storage locker in the town we were moving to, and then basically leave it there unlocked all weekend because the place wasn't open on a weekend. And it was eventually Sunday by the time he came, and he threw all the stuff in the locker. He sent us a picture of it. And then that, as far as they were concerned, they were done. Even though, we then had to pay for the storage, and we had to pay for another moving company to come and get the stuff to our house. So it cost us about $9,000 altogether. Yeah, it was frustrating that there was no recourse for us to actually do anything about it.
Looking back at your situation, are there any red flags that maybe you missed that you didn't consider red flags at the time?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the cheapness of the quote is the number one. There's a reason why it's so cheap, and it's because they're planning on doing that, twisting the situation around to make the price higher. And then the time pressure thing it seems to be what they like to do. So the whole accident on the day of the move, seemed like a total fluke thing. But now when I think back of it, it was the perfect kind of scenario to force us into signing the paperwork quickly and get us to feel sorry for the driver. Like, it's a time sensitive thing. So it's just dramatic things like that no professional company would ever get involved in something like that. The reviews, 100%. And when you click on the person who's made the review, a lot of the time you can see their other reviews, and it's all moving companies. So it's all just variations of the same company that they've worked for, and they're just doing it because they're being paid.
Absolutely. And I think it's important too, that really shows that scammers can be very sophisticated and their tactics. A lot of people may not recognize the signs of a red flag until after, they've been scammed. So I think it's really important, like you said, check the reviews, go on bbb.org. We verify that they are real customers of the company as well. So it just shows everybody, that scammers' tactics can be very sophisticated and can really trick anybody, right? So after you've gone through the situation, what advice would you give others looking to move, especially across provinces? Because it seems like that's where a lot of these scams are happening, is from cross-provincial moves.
Yeah, I think that this particular company or these people, they've got 7 or 8 different names of company that we found now, but their specialty is cross-province because they know that that's the most stressful move for people. And they also know that your average person doesn't know what it should cost. They don't know what it should be per pound of weight. They don't know how much the hourly rate would be for your average moving person, or the gas for the truck, so they're relying on that. And they know that it's expensive. When you go to another company and it's $10,000, they know that in the back of your head, that's what you think it should be. So I think that you should obviously start with the ratings and the BBB site and the CAM site, because I think if a company is not registered or a member of either of those, it tells you something. So I would say try and avoid doing it by weight, and try and agree a price based on, how many kilometers, how many drivers are needed, what the gas is going to cost. And if you're happy with that quote, get a copy of it from the company and pay it when they come and pick up the stuff, because then that way you have a piece of paper in your hand that says, this is what they quoted me, here's the proof that I paid it. So then if there is a problem, it's plain and clear that they're breaking the law by holding your stuff. And if you do have to use a company where they want to do it by weight, then go to the weighing scale with them. So when they fill up the truck, you get in the car and you follow them to the weighing scale, you watch the process, you take hold of the ticket, and that way you've got proof of what the weight was, and you can verify that what you're being charged is correct. So that is that. And then I would make sure that you have a good list of everything that you have, an absolute solid inventory to compare with when you get the stuff on the other end. Make sure that they have a good list. So what they should do when they pick up your stuff is label it somehow, have a sticker with a number on it or some sort of system. I think if you do have an issue, it's important to document everything. So email communication rather than phone communication.
A piece of advice we always give people is get everything in writing. Never, agree to a verbal contract. Get everything you can possible in writing. And one other thing that I kind of took from your situation is don't always go with the cheapest quote, and get multiple quotes. Sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, then it likely is. So I think getting multiple quotes and not always going with the cheapest quote is your best bet.